Dear friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, let's explore what Ramana Maharshi really meant by being alone and how this understanding can change the way you live. Most people say that they want peace, but very few can sit alone quietly without distraction. Why is being alone so uncomfortable? Ramana Maharshi, one of India's greatest sages, explained that learning to be alone is not loneliness, it is freedom from dependence on the mind. And stay till the end, I will share you a story on loneliness. When we hear the word alone, we often think of isolation, sadness, or rejection, but Ramana Maharshi used the word very differently. He said, true aloneness is not physical separation from people, it is freedom from the false idea of being a separate person. You can be in a crowd and still be deeply alone, or be physically alone and still feel restless and incomplete. So, the real question is not where you are, but what you are depending on inside. When you are alone, the mind has to face itself, and most people have never learned how to stay with their own awareness without running towards stimulation. Bhagavan did not say this is a problem, he said this is an opportunity. Ramana Maharshi taught that the sense of loneliness comes from believing I am this body and mind separate from everything else. As long we believe this, we live for completion through relationships, through activities, or through recognition. Bhagavan said that real peace comes when you investigate the one who feels alone, not by changing circumstances, but by understanding the sense of I. When a feeling of loneliness appears, Bhagavan suggested asking, to whom does this feeling arise? The answer is simple, to me. Then ask, who am I? Not as a verbal answer, not as a theory, but by gently turning attention inward toward the awareness that notices the feeling. When this is done sincerely, the feeling loses its grip because you discover something important. Awareness itself is never lonely. Ramana Maharshi lived much of his life in silence and simplicity, but he was never isolated. People felt peace simply by being near him because he was established in what he called the self, a state where nothing is missing. When you learn to rest in awareness, you no longer use people or situations to escape yourself. You meet others from wholeness, not in need. You don't need to leave your family or responsibilities. Ramana Maharshi said, renunciation is in the mind, not in the world. You can practice being alone by sitting quietly for a few minutes daily, or observing thoughts without following them, and noticing the awareness that is always present. Even a few moments of true aloneness each day can reduce anxiety and emotional dependence. In today's world, constant stimulation weakens our ability to be alone. Ramana Maharshi teaching is especially relevant in these times. Learn to rest in awareness, not in distraction. Ramana Maharshi showed that being alone is not something to fear, it is something to rediscover. When you no longer run from yourself, you find that you were never incomplete to begin with. Let me share you a true life incident about loneliness involving Kunju Swami, one of the closest and most respected devotees of Ramana Maharshi. Kunju Swami lived near Ramana Maharshi. at Arunachala for many years. Although he had left worldly life and dedicated himself fully to spiritual practice, he once went through a deep inner struggle. One day, Kunju Swami approached Ramana Maharshi and said honestly, Bhagavan, even though I live here, I sometimes feel a deep loneliness. I have left everything, yet this feeling comes again and again. Raman Maharshi listened quietly. After a short silence, he asked, when this loneliness comes, to whom does it come? Kunju Swami replied, to me, Bhagavan. Bhagavan then said, find out who this me is. Stay with that inquiry. Kunju Swami sat silently, turning his attention inward instead of analyzing the feeling. Later, he described that moment like this. When I searched for the one who was lonely, the loneliness vanished. What remained was a quiet presence, full and complete. When Kunju Swami shared this experience, Raman Maharshi said, loneliness comes because you take yourself to be a person. When the person is not found, how can loneliness remain? This incident reveals Raman Maharshi's core teaching. Loneliness is not caused by being alone, it is caused by identifying with the mind created sense of I. When attention turns towards awareness itself, loneliness dissolves naturally. Ramana Maharshi did not advise Kunju Swami to distract himself or seek company. He pointed him inward to the source of a feeling. In this modern world, loneliness is increasing despite constant connection. Raman Maharshi's teaching shows that loneliness is an inner misunderstanding. Awareness itself is complete, and learning to stay with oneself is the end of emotional dependence. Kunju Swami's experience reminds us you don't escape loneliness by running away from yourself, you transcend it by understanding yourself. If this story resonated, like the video, subscribe for more teachings from Ramana Maharshi. Comment below what do you feel while listening to this story, because the deepest companionship is discovering the self